Alrighty, good afternoon to you guys here. A happy Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. And we got a pretty quiet pattern over a majority of the southern portions of the plains here into the mid-Atlantic and East Coast. Ohio Valley does have some cloud cover with the trough that's moving in. We'll talk about that here in just a second. We've got the leftover remnants of our major system that came through this past weekend. Now finally off the coastline there, bringing some waves over near Bermuda, but not expecting anything impact-wise for the United States. You can see a little bit of a piece of energy here along the Rockies. This is going to give us our significant blizzard potential that we're going to have across the northern plains, upper Midwest, as well as the threat for severe weather today and tomorrow. You can kind of see that low tightening there. It's going to deepen to about 980, 985 millibar low between that threshold as we go through tonight into tomorrow. We'll get to that severe weather threat here in just a second, but I want to talk about that fire risk that we're going to be seeing here first, and that is going to be representative of that trough moving in here, that low, that corkscrew low that you were seeing over the Rockies here, going to bring us a pretty decent southwesterly flow here out of the backside of that, giving us about a 25 to 30 mile per hour wind substantial, and we'll have wind gusts that could exceed 40 to 50 miles per hour. We do have a high risk for fire back here into eastern New Mexico, portions of western and northwestern Texas there. That is the most highest risk zone, once again, that can be issued by a fire danger outlook. This is basically like a high risk for severe weather, except it is a high risk for fire. Relative humidity values will be very, very low. I think we're looking at that 75th to 90 percentile as far as robust fuel storm goes for fires, or I should say fire fuel, I should say, in that point. And then we'll have those RH values very, very low, as well as the wind being a problem. So be mindful there in that high risk. And then outside of that there, we do have an elevated and critical risk zone in the orange and in the red for fire danger. So please don't burn. We've already seen lots of fires going on across Oklahoma into portions of Texas. And then yesterday we had a couple in around Pulaski County in western Arkansas, actually, from a car fire. And then the wind and the dry conditions just continue to amplify that situation over there. We also have fire tomorrow. We have an elevated threat over here near the West Virginia area, over here in portions of southeastern Ohio. We have a little bit of some dry conditions. It'll be a problem over there, so be mindful of that. Critical and elevated, but we do back down on that fire risk going into the weekend, or into the middle half of the week here into Thursday, and then another potential risk zone on Friday. And then after that, we look to be relatively quiet once again. I do want to talk about severe weather today. We do have a low end marginal risk from northern Kansas into eastern Nebraska, northwestern far extreme Missouri, and central Iowa here. Not a zero tornado risk zone. As always, this is less than 2%. You can get tornadoes that can happen in these areas. We're really going to be looking more at that wind threat under 5% today, and the hail threat. This is going to be, once again, a hail-driven risk zone, kind of a cold core setup where you've got cold temperatures aloft to the north, warm temperatures to the south. You get that cold mixing with that low pressure system that's going to be moving through, so hail will be the most problematic. We will not be going live for this to cover this today. We'll have our live stream later on tonight to talk about this. Tomorrow's going to be more of an interesting day. We do have a slight risk there in portions of eastern Illinois, western Indiana there that could cause some trouble. We have got a marginal risk that extends from Iowa through Wisconsin back into portions of northwestern or southwestern Michigan and down as far as Kentucky, Tennessee. We do have tornado risk present tomorrow, guys, so we will be live covering this event tomorrow afternoon. I'm actually almost in that tornado risk for tomorrow there, surprisingly, believe it or not. We have a 2% that extends for portions of eastern Iowa into southern Wisconsin, Illinois, and into portions of Indiana. Wind threat is also 5 and 15%, 15% there of up to 60 to 70 mile per hour winds in the yellow, and then 5% there in the maroon, and then hail threat also 15 and 5%. So this is going to be a cold core setup tomorrow. We get that. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but basically you're going to have that low that's going to be deepening. You'll have cold air coming in on one side, warm air on the other. We won't have a lot of instability, so it's going to be cold aloft at the surface, which is going to give us that chance for what we call an isolated tornado risk, hail threat, and wind threat. We're going to kind of have a broken line of storms. It looks like they're going to develop somewhere in this corridor that could actually be surprised. I wouldn't also be surprised if we got an upgraded 5% tornado risk in here. I've been seeing the model trends, at least on the HUR and the NAM, kind of trend up with our tornado parameters tomorrow. So we're going to have to watch this for a discrete potential of tornadoes. So not expecting an outbreak, but just be very, very mindful once again in Illinois and Indiana tomorrow, and back down into the Mississippi Valley if you are in the threat for severe weather tomorrow. I also want to talk about an update on Sunday's risk zone. Sunday has kind of trickled down just a little bit as I expected. I'm really not surprised with or impressed so far with Sunday's severe weather potential. This looks to be a wind and a hail threat, maybe an isolated tornado risk, as the day 6 outlook is now kind of consolidated. Yesterday we were looking at a slight risk. It was a little bit bigger in terms of Oklahoma, portions of Mississippi, and Arkansas. They've now shrunken that down due to the confidence in a forecast of a smaller area of severe weather. We have a level 2 slight risk for severe weather back here in East Texas, southern Arkansas, northern and central Louisiana, and western Mississippi. Still, the idea of having severe weather in these areas after we've already seen severe weather this past weekend is going to be a problem for recovery efforts that are ongoing. Once again, my thoughts, my heart, and my prayers go out to you guys that are recovering from that. We've had a lot of fatalities. We are up to 66 confirmed tornadoes, and I believe believe 44 fatalities. I'll keep double checking that number and updating you guys on that. But a very, very substantial tornado outbreak and severe weather outbreak that we had this past weekend. So getting severe weather in this area again is not going to be fun. And we'll keep you guys updated on that. Hopefully we might see a downgrade would be nice with this. I'm just really not impressed with the troughing, and we'll talk about that here again in just a second. I do want to go to our model runs for tomorrow and kind of show you guys an in-depth what we're going to be seeing with tomorrow's set. If you can see, dew points tomorrow will actually be pretty decently sufficient. We will have mid to upper 50 dew points back down here along the Mississippi. We could see a higher pocket of some 60s, low in 60s from Kentucky down through Tennessee if that moisture transport does make it that far enough. But this is going to be just enough for what we call that cold core tornado setup, wind threat and hail threat. And you'll see those dew points climb right around peak heating tomorrow, up in the mid to upper 50s there from Tennessee up through the lower Ohio Valley and central Ohio Valley. And then that system moves east. There will be a wind gradient with this. There are wind advisories in place. So without the storms being in place tomorrow, we will have winds that could gust as high as 50 miles per hour throughout the day tomorrow. Another thing, just kind of looking at temperatures tomorrow as well at the surface. You can see temperatures tomorrow will be in the 60s. We will see potentially some 70s kind of on the western side of that front there, where we could see a higher instability access there. We can kind of see where that cold aloft air is going to be in place at the surface here from central Kentucky up through Indiana, where we'll see kind of a difference between 60 and 70 degree temps. We'll have actually some 80s over into portions of West Virginia where that wildfire risk is elevated for tomorrow. Now I do want to show you guys as well, just kind of give you guys an idea of the surface-based cape. This will show you guys that this is a very, very low in threat as far as instability goes. We can see a little bit of surface cape developing, and I would not once again be surprised if a 5% tornado risk being upgraded if we need that for tomorrow. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. Like I said, we will be live covering this event tomorrow as always. And then as we get closer to the afternoon hours and evening hours, that threat does die down. This will also give you an update on our tornado parameters also for tomorrow. Just like to show these, and you can see we will actually have a little bit of a better shot at seeing an isolated tornado somewhere between eastern Illinois and western Indiana here. So we're gonna have to watch this, and even getting into northwestern Kentucky and Tennessee here. Like I said, by all means, this is not a outbreak or any of that, but it's just something we need to watch in terms of tornado potential there. Wouldn't be surprised if that 2% got extended down with the model runs for today. Here's kind of an idea what the radar can look like. You can see this big bowling ball upper level low that's going to be moving through. We could see, like I said, isolated tornadoes as far as eastern Iowa back here into the Chicago metro area, maybe. Very, very isolated risk zone. But then you can see as those cells kind of spin around the northern portion of the low, we kind of get like a little broken squall line here in isolated discrete cellular mode that's going to kind of break out basically from Kentucky all the way up into Illinois and Indiana. We'll have to watch, like I said, for a couple tornadoes that could develop and damaging wind and hail in that area. And then that will work its way east and then fall apart with time as that system moves up to the north. Now, another thing I want to talk about with the troughing here, and then we'll go into the snow side of what we're going to be seeing here. You can see that bowling ball trough setting up. This looks very, very identical to what we just saw this past weekend with our low pressure on Friday and Saturday, except we're not going to have high enough moisture. We're not going to have all this instability. The shear is definitely there. The forcing is there, but just not a lot of instability and not a lot of dew points. And that's what's really going to ultimately limit the high ceiling for this event. If we were seeing this event a little bit later in the week after recovering from what just happened this past weekend, we might see a higher risk, but that's just not going to happen given the timing of the troughing coming in. So very, very nice, organized, positively to neutral tilted trough here. You can see once again another ridge developing on the backside of this here upper level low off the coast there. This low is going to basically work its way east there, moving up into Canada by the time Thursday gets here. There will be some cold air that does come in behind this, so I would not be surprised to see once again temperatures reback down into the 30s and the 40s and some high 50s for high temperatures going into Thursday and Friday, and then we'll kind of rebound again. We'll have another shot at some severe weather on potentially Sunday with that system moving in, upper level system moving in on Sunday, Saturday night into Sunday across the southern plains. But once again, you guys can see I'm just really not convinced yet on this setup that we're going to have down here into the Arklatex and southern plains. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. I am not expecting a severe weather outbreak or tornado outbreak, so that is very, very good news. But like I said, the idea of severe weather still in the areas that have already seen it are not going to be good to have. I will say going into the last week of March, we are seeing a lesser trend in severe weather, at least as of now. I do think we'll have some type of sort of a ridge that develops, which kind of gives us a big warming trend as we go towards the first week of April. But then I think as April gets here, I think we start to get active again with our jet stream and potentially see these up and down dips in our jet stream that give us the threat for severe weather. So just something to be mindful of. Another thing I did want to talk about was going to be the potential for blizzard. I think we have blizzard warnings. I'll double check on that and get you guys that tomorrow. But we do have blizzard warnings back into Minnesota and Iowa. And you can see why. We have snow that's going to develop from basically northern and central Kansas back into Iowa. You know, you're going to see that severe weather setup low and severe weather setup today and tomorrow, but along that low there we are going to see that snow that's going to develop, and we could see some pretty high pockets of snow if in fact the snow machines get cranking and we get those 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall totals Behind that system, cold air loft will come in. We could see, actually, believe it or not, a transition to some flakes and some flurries behind this, but I think the ground temperatures are going to be too warm for snow accumulation in Illinois, Indiana, and into eastern Missouri. Don't quote me on that. Could be wrong, but at least from what we're seeing surface-based wise, I don't see that being a possibility as of right now. That snow accumulation will be on the western side of that low as it comes through on Wednesday afternoon. And then that system moves north, cold air kind of lodged in behind this, and then we warm right back up again as we go towards the end of the weekend before more potential for another system coming through, maybe for some more severe weather, like I said, on Sunday there. We'll have to watch that, and we'll get more detail on that as we go through the next couple of days here as we get closer to that event on Sunday. And then as we go past that point, a little far out to kind of tell what's going to happen. So that's what I've got for you guys today. As always, we will have you guys updated tomorrow. Be safe out there, be weather aware, and we'll see you guys in the next one.